Of course, as always, it is such a pleasure to present to you the Sanctuary Sunday School for the Sanctuary Academy. As you can see, I am still shooting from home. The studio will be closed possibly for several more weeks, so we're going to keep going. What I do want you to do though is opt in, if you had not done so, to the Design Your Decade 20-day challenge. There will be 20 videos, 20 activities for you, online activities, as well as the email with a devotional for you. It's designed to reset 2020 for you and really get you in the mind frame of planning out the best decade of your life. The best is yet to come. You can opt in by texting the word decade to 44222. That's decade 44222. This week's subject, we're talking about the just servant, and we're in the book of Isaiah in the 42nd chapter. And again, we talked about Isaiah being a prophet and how he was labeled as the messianic prophet and how he was talking about Jesus. And so we see more prophecy about Jesus in today's lesson. And what I love just from the jumping off the bat is that they are referring to Jesus as a servant. That is such an example of humility and love and concern for the people of God. God, who is the Son of God, He was God incarnated into the flesh. He was royalty. He is the everlasting Father. He thought enough to come down here and be a servant for us to purchase our salvation and our deliverance. And this is something that we really have to consider, I think, as we are followers of Christ. And I say this all the time, as Christians, we should be like Christ and adapt that attitude of a servant. And not just a servant, a just servant. As we go through this text, we'll see how Jesus had an assignment to bring justice into the world. And here it says, "In my beloved, my servant," He said, "I uphold him, mine elect." This is God's prophecy concerning His Son Jesus. Now, when you look at this, as I said, Isaiah prophesied several hundred years before Jesus even came. And when you think about this, God had so much confidence in Him, right, that He gave these revelations to the prophets, knowing that Jesus would fulfill and live up to every prophecy that was made about Him. That is extremely powerful. And that's another example for us. You know, I want God to be able to recommend me to people, put me on somebody's heart and let them know I'm coming and what I'm going to do. And then I want to be able to actually execute my assignment the way that Jesus did. And so He said, "I uphold him, mine elect." This is an endorsement of the Son by the Father and who He was. And He said it's going to bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. And it talks about the judgment in a way where when we think of judgment, we think harsh, we think swift, we think cruel, but it wasn't like that. Throughout the text, you'll consistently see Jesus being referred to as gentle and loving. And He was going to do it in a way where he's not on the attack. He was subtle and He was cunning. Even though Jesus was Jewish, He came through the tribe of Judah and He was of the lineage of David. He was Jewish. He was bigger than the Jews. He came for the entire world. It says that He's going to set judgment in the earth and everybody is going to wait for His law. And so when we speak of the Jews being God's chosen people, it does not mean God's chosen people in terms of being a favorite. They were chosen to be an example of God's love and the relationship, so we can study them and know that what God had done for them, He does for us. And also with Jesus, because Jesus came for everybody, that's how He brings judgment to the Gentiles. So now the Gentiles have access to everything that the Jewish people had access to through Jesus Christ and the work that He did here. And He said He hath created the heavens and stretched them out. And it talks about how powerful and immense and everlasting God's power is. And also through Jesus would have this same power. But again, He had all of this power and He didn't wield the power to tear people down and abuse people. He used it. Look what it says. He says he's going to open the blind eyes. He's going to bring out prisoners, and he's going to bring light to the people who are dark. He came as a deliverer. He came as somebody who is going to save us and bring us salvation and give us access to the Father. He said, I am the Lord. That is my name, and my glory will not give to another. And this is again him reiterating, as he did back in the law, that he's not going to have any other God before him. He is one God, and that there will be no graven images. He is the only God. And that speaks to a lot of the nations, because again, Isaiah was prophesying about the coming deliverance from the Babylonian captivity. And when they were there, and you had these pagan nations that were taking rule, you had the Babylonians, you had the Persians, and then by the time Jesus came, you had the Romans, and all of these nations worship idol gods. And God is saying, look, this just servant is going to show them there is one God, one true and living God, and I am God. I am the I am that I am, and that there is no power in any pagan images. And he says, so the former things that are come to pass, I'm going to do new things, and declare before they spring forth, I tell I'll tell you of them. And so it's so beautiful that God even thought enough of us to let us know, because sometimes these prophecies came, and again, the children of Israel had gone through so many changes, and a lot of the distress though that they went through was because of their own rebellion. But even still, when you go through so much, there may be a feeling of discouragement. And this, again, is a timely lesson, because I'm sure there are people who are feeling that now. You know, everybody started this year off excited. Oh man, a new decade. And I was even really excited about it. And I still am. And I would just have to say, God has blessed me that all of my first quarter goals, I met them, and I'm doing great, which is why I'm doing this Design Your Decade session, because God, like he's saying in this passage, God is bigger than a pandemic. God is bigger than a recession. God is bigger than a layoff. He is the God of eternity. And just like he held these children of Israel through the captivity and through all of the things that were happening. And again, these times are so parallel, because a lot of the things that we are going through and we're seeing happen are happening as a result of sin and the things that people or we are not doing to please God. And just because you're saved, if you live in a world that is sinful and ungodly, unfortunately, we've got to suffer just as well. But the thing about it is, God always has a plan and a way of escape and deliverance for us. And this is what the message of Isaiah is coming to tell the people. I am sending justice for you. There is justice in your salvation. I just felt that. I'm going to say it again. There is justice in your salvation. One more time. There is justice in your salvation. You don't have to do anything slick. God has justice for the righteous. He sent his only begotten son, and he says he is a just servant. And God will always make sure that his servant Jesus serves us and ministers to us, provides for us, and takes care of us. So no matter what kind of injustice that we may face in this day and in this time, always remember that Jesus is a just servant.